My name is Daniel G. Carvalho, Carvalho,
Where were you born?
on the island of Maui,
What is your birthday?
27 September 1921. I'm 93 years old.
Tell me about your family, parents, and your sibling at the time that you were growing.
Well, my father used to be a ranch foreman at the Olopalakua, Maui, the
Mm-hmm.
big ranch up in Olopalakua.
Mm-hmm.
And I was born up in Palakua, but the nearest hospital to me there was in Paia, Maui, Paia.
Yeah. What
And
about
uh,
high
my
school?
my father was a rancher there. From there we left the ranch and came to Wailuku, Maui, and I was born there. My family, we have. My father always told me that he wanted a baseball team, so we have 9 boys, 2 girls, one adopted girl. I'm the oldest of the 9 boys.
What high school did you graduate?
At the Wailuku Elementary to the Baldwin High.
Bald,
Baldwin,
Baldwin High School.
yeah,
Where is it? In the
in
Maui?
Maui, yeah.
When did you graduate?
I don't remember right now. It's too long ago.
So must be around 38.
Yeah, about that time, yes.
Yeah. What did you do after the graduation?
Well, I worked as well. The war broke out, and so when the war broke out, they closed down all the schools. So it wasn't be to continue any more other schools. So I went to the vocational educational curriculum, and my daughter said, you got to learn how to do something. So I became a mechanic. And then I went to work for Haleakala Motors.
Mm-hmm.
That's a dealer there in Maui, in Wailuku. And they hired me there for a few months there. And then the war broke out, and people said, we need somebody here who can do some welding. So I became a professional welder specialist. And I had to work for the company. And I worked for a company there. I deal with them, the automobile dealer, which was, he serviced the Buicks, Chevrolets, and Pontiacs.
Mm-hmm.
And the war broke out, and they told us that we're going to have to go work for the government. We're still working for the government, but the company says that we're going to have to work more in better position because the war has broken out. And so a government company came to Maui. They was called a USAD.
Uh-huh.
USED. That's a government or training people that came in. They took over everything there was to take over on the islands. They confiscated all the trucks, all the cars that they could use, the service. So I worked for them and I went up to. They sent me up to Haleakala crater up on top of Haleakala Maui.
Mm-hmm.
And on different day, they assigned me as a diesel mechanic because I had mechanics experience there, which I took care of the diesel engines up there. That they did all the tunneling and whatnot up at the top of Haleakala, which is 10,000 elevation. We installed the radar systems up in Haleakala, the radar and the height finder. And so then the company was told they have to leave there because we had to change to Honolulu. So I transferred to Honolulu with a group of us. So we closed down. If you go up Haleakala, you still see the radar system, I think, up there. But anyway, we came to Honolulu, and then when we get to Honolulu, I stayed at the hotel there next to Punahou there. And they provided us transportation to work at Sand Island. Sand Island had a big shop there. The shop there was providing work for the Honolulu Pier. you remember the Honolulu Pier wasn't deep enough for big ships to come in. So we worked on the dredges. We have a big dredge there that came in. The dredges was that dredge, the dredge, the dredge, the wharf there, so that the big ships can come in. Because at that time there's no big ships can come in. It's parked all the way outside, about 1.5 miles, 2 miles offshore. So when I was at the military police, I was assigned to the stockade there, the military stockade. I was a clerk there to take care of the prisoners' time that they spend in the in the prison there. And I witnessed couple of bad situations there. I don't know if I should tell you that, but we had 2 hangings, of lifetime hangings, and from those 2 hangings there, I witnessed one, the hanging there. Then the government came back, the federal government came back and says, no more, you don't hang anymore. You send it back to the United States there, where they go to the big prison camp there. And from there, I went to work for the quartermaster. At Schofield there, we had almost 20 different but warehouses. Those warehouses were all filled with the equipment that were going to go into the war for World War II guys, and for the equipment that was sent out and that were damaged, they brought it back for storage there.
Okay. When did you leave for Korea?
I left for Korea in December 1950.
Did you know anything about Korea?
No, I did not know nothing about Korea.
You knew that you were going to the war, right?
No, I don't. I was assigned to the quartermaster at that time. I was called one morning when I was going to work there, and he says, you have 2 hours notice, Mr. Carvalho. Get your bags ready and ready to ship out. I said, where are we going to ship out to? He says, you're going to go to Tokyo.
Oh.
So I said, oh, good. So when we got to Tokyo, the 25th Division has moved out.
20 what?
25th.
25th, yeah.
They moved out to Papu.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got wiped out, I guess, down at that area down there.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, we were from Japan there, at the camp at Tokyo there, we were shipped down to Beppu, the island of Kyushu.
Mm-hmm.
We were given, you said you were assigned to the 3rd Infantry Division.
30 what?
3rd Infantry Division.
Yeah.
And assigned to after 30 days there of regrouping, that's when we told me that, told us rather, we were going to Korea. And this is the schedule I show you for Korea.
Yes, yes. Tell me about it. So you went directly to Wonsan?
Directly to Wonsan, and then by LSTs, all the way up to Wonsan. We got up at Wonsan, and then they said the 1st Infantry Division had been in trouble, and they needed materials and some supplies. So our company there, and then the rest of the divisions there, had to furnish half of our equipment. We had to go all the way up to Joseon.
Changjinho.
Yeah, whatever it is. We spent there 2 days. We got badly overrun by the Chinese government, Chinese people rather.
Yeah.
And you've never seen anything like it. They ran across the whole divisions and whatnot with just big sticks, long bamboos, and no weapons. Some of them have no weapons at all. Just run like you see when you disturb a ant nest. You know how they all attack you. Well, that's how the Chinese did that. They just kept rushing over us. So they had no choice but to retrieve. So the headquarters told us that we're going to have to go back down to Busan. Why? Because the Koreans had already moved across the island of Korea all the way down and were interfering with our people that are coming on that area there. So we went all the way back down with by LST. But let me tell you a story about the LST. On the LST, when we got on the LST, the captain of the ship says, I want all of you to be on 24-hour alert. Why? He says, here are bamboos. We gave you long bamboos. And the bamboos we go, and the LSTs would drive down slowly with huge floodlights shining on both sides of the LST down into the ocean. And as we were going down, it took us 3 days to move from Wonsan, from Chusan to Wonsan to back to Busan by LSTs. And everybody was given a duty on the side of the ship. The floodlights would shine down on the water. And when you would look at that, we were told to look for mines in the ocean there. And if you see a mine, you move it with the bamboo, and we call it mine, mine, mine. And the ship would slow down itself with speed, but they were traveling very slow anyway. That's why it would take us so long. So we would move the ship around. The captain first told us at the beginning, says, I depend on you, because if anything should happen, we're all going to go because it's so dangerous, those mines. So that's what we did, was move those mines away, and then the LST would move slowly across to keep going. And we safely wind up in Busan.
Tell me about Chinese soldier, and you saw many American soldiers killed there in Chosin, right?
Yes, we did. You see them killed like I don't know, like ants themselves, because they were just one and another. But because most of the people from that first Infantry Division were already frozen, halfway frozen. So cold, because when we first landed in Wonsan, it was 25 below zero.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cold from Hawaii to all the way to Chosin, And so a lot of the people were either frozen or were shot because they dropped their weapons already because they're so cold they can't do anything. So we lost a lot of men on the front lines because of the Chinese overruns. So then when one of our division had to move out all the way back to Busan, that's why we came back all the way down to Busan. And down in Busan, we started to come back up country. And I have a map here shows where the people with the places that we stopped. In the back here.
Do you still have a nightmare?
Yeah, it's done now. It's gone. I got rid of that a long time ago. And I have a list here of all the. I was assigned to the signal company. I'm a communications electronic engineer.
Uh-huh.
So the group that's into the signal division, the signal company rather, moved us to into three different groups. The signal company has three different groups. The main signal company, and then we were assigned three different sections that we moved up. And I was in the advanced organization, so every 2 hours we moved up into Korea, and I have a list here of all the listings of where we stopped, and we would set up tent, and our job was as communicators.
You recorded that?
I have no. This is the first time we're together. No.
Yeah, but you recorded every place that you stayed?
Yes, this was recorded everywhere. Every time we stopped, I had a rather call it. It's an old map at the time. The map that they have now is not up to date.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what that map does. And we I recorded all these dates there on there. And so as we went up country, all the way up the country, every 2 hours or so we had to move. And the weather was so cold and everything else. And after we moved every 2 hours, we put up our tents. And we have our food people set up meals for us to have, breakfast and whatnot. And the tents, we never know where we're going to move. The rice paddies are either flooded or solid ice. So we put our tents up. So by morning time, we lost, in my section, we lost 2 big tents that fell down over us completely. Got burned because we had to move them. We had no choice because we had at night, we had to, after we moved, our job was to send communication. The division has different units that artillery units whatnot, all different areas there. And as they would go, they would communicate with us because we were the main communication system. We then send it to the division sent to Corps, and Corps
Where
would,
was it?
all in part of middle of Busan and up and around Seoul.
So
It's,
you've been all over Busan and Seoul and
yes,
so on?
right across the Han River too, because when we first went through the second time, we had to cross the Han River, and the Han River was frozen with ice, so we had to cut the ice and then make room for put the what they call it, roadway like they put up boats to put in down so the ships can go, the vehicles can cross there. One thing we learned about ice over there, which in the sun, that's when we were given food, our food was there, but very little food we had here. They only give us the very minimum things, and most of it's cold. Let me tell you something. The first morning that we landed in Wonsan, it says, you're going to have breakfast. I said, fine, what kind of breakfast are we going to have? Well, we didn't have no idea what kind of breakfast we would have. They gave us biscuits, roll of biscuits about 3 inches in diameter. And you eat the hard biscuits, I mean the biscuits, but put it on the ground, it rolls like a ball, like a roller. That's how hard it was. Just eat that. Other than that, we had a lot of sardines and salmon, canned goods. Most of our food there was the canned goods because the little unit that we had not enough time to put up the mess halls, rent eating places. But they did provide us coffee. We had a lot of coffee. We had every place we went, we had a lot of coffee, and so that was really a rough time. Another thing was our health care. We did not have any water to take a bath for 2 weeks. And finally, we got somebody they cut water and another good part about that was when I was in the lower middle of Korea there, below Seoul. Well, one of my messengers says, Sergeant, he says, I know where we can take a bath. I said, where? He says that the Korean area, not too long around there, have a small diesel, not small gasoline engine that they pump the cold water from the ground there into where there are huge areas where you can take a bath. And I never had a hot bath, so that right there. And it was really something. But anyway, before they could do that, they mentioned me that they don't have any gasoline to run their little engine, to pump the water. So I told them, take that 5-gallon can up that Jeep there, put it in that motor so they can run it to pump the water. So we had what they call a bath there in beautiful warm water, cold water. Never had one been for 2 weeks. You can imagine when you got out of there, you felt like you're going to fly out light. That mineral water. And oh, it was really something. Well, we had.
So, what was your rank during the
E7.
Huh?
E7.
E7 means
sergeant. That's a sergeant. E7.
And you were World War II veteran, right?
Yes, I'm a World War II veteran also.
Yeah.
Before I went to the World War, I did a lot of other work, and with World War II, I went to school in what do you call it? Oh, I can't remember. I was kind of forgetting things here. And so I graduated from electronic engineering school, and I was assigned to the Pentagon. I'm a cryptologist.
Oh.
Because during my time in Korea, I had the communication center, part of the communication center with cryptologists, because the different regiments would send the messages to us, and we would then send it to main division. Then main division would send it to the Corps people, and that's how it was. From there, I got out. I was assigned to Paso Robles, California, to be on the ground satellite terminal. Those huge 90-foot dishes with ground satellite there.
So, when did you leave Korea?
I stayed in Korea a year and a half.
Year and a half. So that you left 1951.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the most difficult thing for you to be in the Korean War?
The weather there was horrific because you came from Hawaii, which is in the 70 degrees, and you go in there to 25 below zero, you know. You got to cover. That's another thing about that. I had trouble with my men getting frostbiting. You know, frostbiting, how to get bad, their feet and their hands and whatnot. And so one day I said, we got to correct this because I can't be afford to lose men like this. So I told them, you go to the cafeteria, the mess hall that we had there, and pick up the butcher sheet, you know, those heavy, thick papers. And I want you to put, first of all, I want each man will give him 2 pairs of socks. I said, every 2 hours when we stop, I want you to remove your socks, put it inside your shirt, and you put the new ones on. And then for the other areas that we have, and they were feel cold at night because we weren't given any winter clothes. All we had was blankets. They gave us 7 blankets, and here, keep yourself warm with these blankets. They gave us cots, you know, those folding cots. But the folding cots you can use it because we slept in metal. One of the places have rice paddies or full of ice or solid ice or water. So, you know, but that was another thing that I told them, you have to put the paper between your body and close your shirt on, and you can stay warm. And another thing is that the blankets were still getting cold, so put paper between the blankets and put it in the cold. And they were all happy because they said that was the best warm night they ever slept. With, you know, papers between the cold blankets, and you get out. Because we had those what they call stoves, like they call it, for heating stoves. But by the way, I had a Korean boy with me.
Houseboy.
Houseboy. He followed me from Seoul, from Busan. He was about 8 or 9 years old, and he used to call me Papa-san all the time. I like that. So one day, after going through all the way to Seoul, we had to move out again to go on and farther up. And I told him, you cannot come with us because it's too dangerous, because we got ambushed three times on the way up. And for the love of me, I don't know how he made it, but he's stuck in between in the trucks, inside in all the material that we packed up. He's stuck in there. And when we got to the other end of here comes his boy son. Hi, Papa-san, hi, Papa-san. I said, how the hell did you get here? He says, the truck. I said, what truck? And he showed me the truck that had all the bedding. And it was very dangerous. If that truck would move side and side, he would get killed, you know. But what? Well, he cried a little while. I told him, I cannot go and leave you. I cannot stay with you any longer. You're going to have to get another. I found him another sergeant who didn't have anybody, so he went to him. So I never got a hold of his name, because he always told me, he kept telling me his name, but it's in Korean. I didn't understand his Korean.
What was the most dangerous thing that you experienced in Korean War?
We were, as you know, we were moving every 2 hours, every 2 hours we had to move. And our job was move forward while the divisions were all in the back of us. We would see whether everything is okay in the front. If it's okay, then we say, yeah, it's okay to move. They will move to our position, we will move to another position. In other words, we stay in advance all the time. And we got a couple of times we got overrun. We overlooked not we, but as the communications, because we have all the divisions and the regiments were moving forward at the same time, and artillery shells flying over us all night long. That's why right today my hearing is real bad. I have 2 years.
You're still good.
So I have hearing aids now that the VA provided me pretty good.
The Korea was almost destroyed completely, right?
You should have seen Seoul, the city of Seoul, the capital. It was totally burned down. The only thing that was holding them up is the granite that they built it, you know. and then nothing was there. The whole rooftop of it was gone, and the track. They had trains. I understand they had train tracks in there. They were all torn up completely.
Have you been back to Korea?
I've been back one time only.
When?
Oh, about 5 or 6 years ago.
6 years ago?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. How was it?
Well, it was okay. I looked at it and I was very surprised to see how they had developed the country. The Koreans are really, really smart people in developing. One thing I really like about them, what they did was, in the middle of Korea on up, they built a huge highway. I said, why do you need a highway this big? He says, in case of emergency, we stop everything, and that's a landing field for you people to come and help us.
Yeah.
I said, oh, okay, goodness, that's really something.
Emergency runway.
Yeah. Is it still there yet?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I seen that thing being built on the time. And they had the trains that used to come up and bring us food back and forth. Miserable.
You didn't know anything about Korea before, and
Not
you
at-
went to there to fight. What do you think? Why do you think it happened to you?
I don't know. They just wanted somebody. They wanted because with the division and was stationed in Beppu, they were under strength. They needed more people, so they called on Japan, and Japan was going to call us from. I was assigned to the 25th, who just went there, but the 25th moved out, so we were there. Well, we had to be on one of those. Otherwise, we would have been killed in the 25th in Busan.
So are you proud that you fight for the Korean War?
Yes, I'm pretty proud. I like the people there. They did a very nice job of recovering. Yes. And I was really surprised the way the people were dressed too. And let me tell you something about that. Their huts that they built there were very engineering. They have these huts all built out of straw, and their floors all solid floors, not and I couldn't figure out how do they keep warm in a house like this. So one day when we walked outside, and we were moving there, we seen this guy lighting this fire outside the side of the house there. And that's what it is. They will let the stove outside, the booth, and the hot smoke run through the bottom of the floor and keep the warm inside warm. Because they have straws on top, they stay warm all night long. I said, oh, that's really smart how you guys can do that. But that's the way they did it. They really know how to survive in that cold weather. It was really surprised. And my last trip, the first trip that I went back there, we went to almost all of Korea. We were traveling back and forth, all the way up to the 38th parallel, and seen it. At that time, I think I was about the second or third group that went up there, and I couldn't figure out why they had the 38th parallel, and we parked there, and they had all these 3 homes there, and he says you got to be careful when you go inside there. Do not cross this area there. You stay on one side of the tables, and they stay on the other side of the tables. I says, wow, terrific. Then we have a big area where they view people, so you can see across the huge flag and the views tower playing music all the time. It's really something.
What do you think about the U.S.-Korea relationship?
They're sort of following our steps here with the United States. They're trying to improve, and everything we do, they try to improve more and more. I hope that their president now, the woman president they have, is doing a really good job and don't go overboard because of North Korea. North Korea is really giving a lot of pushes back and forth, and because that's a young president, doesn't know too much about what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's kind of dangerous with Japan on one side too, because Japan was very, very aggressive at the time of wars. Japan had been all over Korea and all over China and all those areas. So some of the people there and in the Philippines, once in the Philippines, come on, at the beginning they kind of were not too familiar with Japan.
Okay.
They got over it though.
Yeah.
Because Japan.
Any other message you want to leave to this interview?
No, I think that we should be very careful not to start another war. We can't afford another war because we have too many people there now, that young people rather, because we've been utilizing all of our elderly people that were able to go to the wars. And our Air Force organization is very up to date, but not as much. And we have a lot of weapons, of course, but the United States should be real careful about what they're doing and what they do, because I'm sure they can negotiate different problems with other people who might start the war.
Yeah.
But if we do, there's no way out of it. We can do it, but stay away from becoming a war people.
Thank you so much again, Daniel, for your fight for the Korean nation. Without your fight and sacrifice, there is no Korea. So I would like to thank you on behalf of Korean nation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Han.
Yep.